Monday, everybody, and welcome back to the Couchside Judges. I'm Scott Fontana. Follow me on Twitter at Scott_Fontana.
And I'm Dan Urban. Follow me at the Dan Urban. Follow the podcast at Couchside Judges, and subscribe to us wherever you listen.
And you've got to give us that 5-star review, like right now.
And as always, make sure you read the scoring criteria because that's what we're going to talk about.
Hang on, Dan. I don't want to get started just yet because I'm waiting for them to give us the 5-star review.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah,
I mean, we gave them extra music to do it too.
Give them another minute. You guys have time. You can go get that 5-star review in. All right, moving on. We got a lot to talk about, obviously, coming off a big event. Not crazy judging stuff. We've got 7 rounds, contested rounds ahead of us.
But MMA feels fun again.
Why is that?
Because Jon Jones is involved. MMA is just better with him involved.
I don't know. I think fun is like
So
I don't know if I would say fun. I would say more interesting.
I don't know. I had a great time.
I mean, I had a great time watching the fight. But
I was working, and I was like, I better get out of here soon. I got to get out of here soon. And I'm never like that for any other card. Jon Jones is must-see TV.
Jon Jones, I feel like, is still like kind of a thread to a time that was more fun to be an MMA fan.
Maybe.
That's kind of what I would chalk that up to if I'm looking on the outside, which I am.
Okay.
You know, because there's just who's left from there. You know, that's. I mean, obviously there's guys, but I mean, who's still at the top? It's really just Jon
Jones, BJ Penn, GSP.
Those guys don't fight anymore.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I forgot. Yeah, forgot to remind you of that.
Yeah, definitely a more fun time back then.
I think so too. I think there's a lot of nostalgia for fans who've been around long enough. I mean, obviously you have like your times and your periods and everything, but like I still feel like, and I think I've talked to people who have been around even longer than me as far as watching the sport and everything like that, and a lot of them really will point to that kind of late aughts into the early 2010s.
Yeah.
As like a real interesting, fascinating time where like everything had kind of congealed together. The UFC was massive. It had most of the big players, but there were still other promotions that had some interesting fighters and fights going on.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Attitude Era of MMA.
Maybe a little bit. I don't know. I like that though. But yeah, as far as Jon Jones, you know, I guess the question that I have for you is, and this is something that's kind of been bubbling in my head for a long time, really, with him. Basically, ever since he said he's got to bulk up, and the idea that he's had to bulk up, which predates him actually doing it. He always said he wanted to like get bigger, right? Do you think he even needed the extra? Was it 25 pounds? Ended up being, I think, from what he typically would fight at. Did he really need the extra bulk to beat Ciryl Gane?
Not to beat Gane, but I do think he needed to bulk up for heavyweight. I think it's other contenders that he has to be bigger for. I think he probably maybe foresaw Francis would still be around. That guy's massive. Curtis Blades.
Sure.
Very good wrestler. Big guy. Even if Jon has good wrestling too, you don't want to be the undersized guy in that. So yeah, to beat Gane, I don't think so. But other guys I do.
See, I don't know what he was actually walking around at, right? I know from data from California State Athletic Commission that he did weigh in on fight night when he fought Gustafsson the second time. He weighed in on fight night at 222.5.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, you know, not just a straight 205er. I'd heard he gotten a little lower. I think it was DC was talking about he got lower as like 215 or something like that at some point. But I bet you he could walk around like if he wasn't trying to diet down and then cut weight. I bet you he'd probably walk around the 230-pound range. We've had champions fight at 230 in the last 12 years. I don't think he would have been distinctly smaller than Cain Velasquez back in the day. I don't think Junior Dos Santos would have been smaller. He obviously beat DC already. Would he have been at a disadvantage at heavyweight? I don't really think so. DC was the champion for a while.
I don't know. Could be a mental thing. What his coaches are telling him he needs to do. Who knows? Maybe 3 years away. Let the body recover too.
Sure. I mean, there's that, I guess. But I guess I just look at this fight, and obviously you agree. Ciryl Gane, it's not like he could have walked in at 205 the same weight he was. I think he would have been able to still run through Ciryl Gane.
Yeah. Jon Jones is an animal.
He is. And it's nice to see him actually fighting to his strengths again. If he does that, there's no reason he should even look as pedestrian as he did those last few fights at light heavyweight.
He was bored.
He probably was, but like, I don't know. I still wonder if maybe things would have started to catch up to him a little bit more at 205 pounds.
Well, you play with fire long enough, it's going to burn you.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So 12 years?
Yeah.
Granted, several of those
No
years
one
were without fights for
excited
John.
him. Yeah, no one really excited him.
I guess.
He seems very excited to fight Stipe.
He does. But, like, he made a comment in the press conference. It was something to the effect, it at least made it sound like.
Yeah, I saw.
He's not sticking around forever.
I didn't take it as that.
You don't think so? Okay.
No, I took it as I'm going to be here for a while.
Okay.
I have at least one.
Okay.
Probably 10 to 15 more.
I have at least one rather than I have at least one.
Yeah, it was more of a... I think Stipe's probably got at least one.
Mm-hmm.
And if he wins, he's out the door.
I see. Well, we'll see. I guess it's going to be up to keeping him happy with
I mean,
contracts.
he signed an 8-fight contract.
Yeah.
So he'll be around.
Yeah. Or, maybe he just stops fighting. There's a lot of guys who have contracts that are still lengthy and they just don't fight anymore.
I don't think so.
Maybe he gets
He's ready to
satisfied. Yeah, who knows? We'll see. I mean, he did transform his body, so it'd be weird if he only fought like 2 times.
He wants to go lower. He wants to be a lean 240, 235.
Yeah,
so.
I feel like that's where he should be better anyway. Like 248 sounded too big.
He said he got up, or Joe Rogan said he got up to at least 267 and didn't like the way he felt at that weight.
Yeah.
So he had to bring it back down. He must have been really fat at 267.
Yeah, he probably was. And he's still the little brother next to his other brothers. Yeah. He's still smaller than them. Oh, man. What do you want? They're NFL defensive linemen / linebackers.
NFL diet.
Yeah. Obviously, we probably could talk all day about John Jones, but there's a few other topics I want to get to before we get into the rounds, and it is a big show. So we've got to obviously touch on the big upset. I mean, one of the biggest upsets in UFC history and MMA history. Alexa Grasso tapping out Valentina Shevchenko. It's not like Alexa Grasso was known as a finisher. I think this is her second finish in the UFC. They're both submissions, but she's really more known for her striking than anything. She's kind of got all the weapons, and we saw that on display. Mm-hmm. But no reasonable person was like, yeah, Alexa Grasso's probably going to submit her.
No, I counted her out, and I was already on to either the trilogy with Nunes or Aaron Blanchfield.
I counted her out too. I absolutely did. I'll own that, and I don't think we're alone. I think most people looked at this fight and looked past this fight because it was like, okay, Alexa Grasso's next, whatever. No offense to her, and obviously she proved it wrong anyway, so it doesn't matter what we think. The crazy thing for me too is that obviously she won that first round, and everyone thought she won the first round. That defied expectancy bias, right? Like, we've seen that before with especially with Valentina Shevchenko. We saw that in the Tyler Santos fight where I think a lot of people thought they were going to get one thing out of it, but it didn't, and that's why they're like, oh, Tyler Santos almost won. It was definitely a sign that Shevchenko may not be as sharp as she once was, or at least maybe the matchup wasn't as good for some reason or another. Who knows? But it was a little bit of foreshadowing. But then again, in this fight, I mean, Shevchenko was starting to at least get it together a little bit. She won the next 2 rounds. I think it was probably a close-ish round, but I would have been leaning her way before she missed that spin kick that obviously led to her downfall. Mm-hmm. Did you see it that way too? Where were you?
I thought Shevchenko figured it out and was.
But in that particular round, I mean, did you think it was definitely a clear Shevchenko round by that point?
I think I was ready to write it for her, and then she misses that spin kick, gets her back taken. I'm like, oh,
well, obviously then you go the other way, but
yeah.
No, honestly, I thought it was a close enough round. I probably was going to go.
It was
Shevchenko,
competitive
but
for sure.
Yeah. I think so, and I think the whole fight was relatively competitive too. You never thought Alexa Grasso was just like getting tagged, getting beat up, that kind of thing, which we've seen from Valentina Shevchenko on poor challengers in the past, right?
Yeah, well, that
wasn't happening here. I
kind of felt after the first round when Shevchenko felt her and said, "Uh-oh," and she pivoted, started going for the wrestling, and said, "Let me get out of here with a W, and any way I can." And I thought she was probably going to do that, and then
she goes to that a lot though. Like
opportune.
That's something she goes to frequently, even against overmatched opponents. I think she just knows it's something that she's got in her pocket and she can use pretty well. And obviously she did for a while. She really just made a mistake in this fight, and that's not to excuse the loss or try to denigrate Alexa Grasso's accomplishment. She capitalized on a window very quickly and very effectively, obviously. The question I would have for you is, I want you to handicap, it's not a question, but I want you to handicap the odds of Alexa Grasso winning what we can only assume is an immediate rematch with Valentina Shevchenko.
Well, it has to be an immediate rematch. It clears everything up, actually. Valentina losing.
Yep.
Because now you can do Fior versus Blanchfield.
But you also don't know what the
And
heck you're going to do at bantamweight.
Well, yeah, that's true.
It creates a new problem there.
Yeah. I would go. She was what plus 600 this go. I would go plus 3, just because she's been in there, so she has some experience fighting her. She she's gonna make adjustments. I just don't. I expect Shevchenko to not get caught like that. Obviously, big props to Grasso for being opportune, seeing the back and taking it and choking her. I don't think Shevchenko finds herself doing that again. She'll correct that.
She won't do that particular thing again. Absolutely, I think she'll, to quote Joe Rogan, mind her P's and Q's a little better. But I don't know, man. I feel like it's, and I'm not a handicapper either, so like take it for what it is. But I feel like it's much closer to like plus 200.
Well, here's my reasoning. It's she didn't take the back. She didn't get a takedown.
No.
Move to the back. Shevchenko exposed it to her, and she just jumped on it. She
Yeah.
saw it and jumped on it.
My thinking has less to do with
so-
with the way she got the finish or anything like that. It's more that I think she actually has some capable weapons in her hands and feet and everything like that. I think she can at least hold her own up there.
Yeah.
You know, she will have to shore up that wrestling and be a lot better at it. So maybe that's, I mean, that's, look, I'm not, when I say plus 200, we're not
Still
talking about
sizable
someone that
ball,
I
yeah.
think is going to win, But yeah, I don't know. I feel like it should be closer to that. But I mean, we're not talking about this because we're betting it. It's more just kind of to say, hey, how much do we think she's in the mix to be able to win it again, right? To duplicate the feat.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe it's the Juliana Pena situation with the second fight with Nunez.
But that's why I feel that's why I feel it's different, though. You finish the thought, but
Like maybe Shevchenko just comes out here and just annihilates her.
she sure might. But again, that first fight, we saw a first round in which Amanda Nunes looked pretty good. It was really just like a 3-minute window in that first fight where Nunes just didn't look like herself for one reason or another, whether it was her getting tired, whether it was Pena actually just doing her damn job, right? Or somewhere in the middle. But I never thought that was like representative of Amanda Nunes or where she was or anything like that. That's
more fluky then.
Not fluky. It felt like something that less repeatable, I guess.
Okay.
Maybe that's the definition of a fluke. I don't know. But this one, it felt more competitive, I guess, in this fight.
All right.
So I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I would probably feel pretty good about Valentina Shevchenko being able to get the belt back. But you never know. Hey, she's proved me wrong before, right? Can't count her out. Definitely not. Shavkat Rakhmonov. I want to move on to him because I'm always interested in talking about this dude. I like that Rogan kind of pointed out he's got the words he used were weird, but he described him as kind of like the smart fight fans like favorite. I forget how he described him. He was talking about like the ones who really don't care about. His point was the people who don't care about the BS trash talk and all that kind of thing, and they just want the skilled fighters. He was talking about someone like me because I am more like that, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
The ones who don't like no fun.
I like fun.
The no fun having.
He's fun. There was a great picture
Talk
of him.
yourself into title shots like Chael Sonnen.
Oh, Chael's fun. I talked to Chael last week, right?
I didn't know that.
He had coffee with me, and I just had water. But yeah, it was like a 30-minute interview last week in the city.
You should have brought him over.
No.
He could have been a guest on the show.
It was literally like right before he went over to be on Ariel's show.
Ah.
Yeah.
We could have went on Ariel's show.
When?
With Chael.
Probably not. I think Chael wants to have the show to himself.
Well, we could have been his entourage.
I'd prefer not to be.
Oh, I would be Chael's entourage.
I mean, I can reach out to Ariel. I know how to talk to Ariel, but I don't think it's gonna work out being on a show.
Right.
So I'm not gonna lobby for that. But back to Shavkat. He looked tremendous. He's definitely passed some tests there though too, because you saw him actually have to kind of battle a little bit, right?
He took some shots. Jeff Neal has some heavy hands there. So.
Yeah. I think that was like a fight he needed to go through at this level and say to yourself, okay, how can I go through it? But also for us to be able to identify what he is. Like once he's not the nail, once he's not the hammer, how does he do as the nail? And he weathered it pretty well.
He did.
He won every round up until the third when he got the finish, and he was probably going to win that round anyway.
I'm curious to see what he does against someone who's just not going to just stand there and let him return and smash him back.
Well, who would that be? I don't know. Who would you want to give him next? Because it's at this point you got to move him a lot higher. This was a big spot. He looked really great, so I think he starts to get into that small conversation.
Any of the top 3 or top 4. If you go Colby, I'm cool with that. I would really like to see him and Hamzat just battle it out.
But is Hamzat even
Who's
going to
the
fight
guy?
at 170 again? Like I
Yeah,
almost
that's
look at him as
maybe
just
not.
an 85er at this
Okay.
point.
Possibly.
Unless he gets down and they book him for a welterweight again, I'm kind of just treating it as okay. He's an 85.
I mean, have they even booked Bilal Muhammad yet or Gilbert Burns?
I don't believe. Wait, Gilbert Burns I think has a fight. I can't remember who it's against, but I don't think Bilal does. I think he's kind of odd man out. But so is Colby. And I mean, I think somebody suggested it or Dana was commenting on it after the fights. I don't remember how it came up, but that sounded like a fun fight, I guess, to him. And I would say putting Shavkat Rakhmonov in front of Colby Covington does sound like a fun watch.
Okay. So it's Burns and Masvidal.
Okay.
Scheduled for April 8th. I mean, that matchup just makes 0 sense. Sorry, I looked that up because that just upset me.
I'm sorry for you.
Anyway.
Nothing from Bilal though. Did you look him up too? But I mean, the point I'm making is that I would enjoy the chance for Shavkat to put his hands and try his wrestling on Colby Covington.
Could go well, could not. I think Colby's very good.
I just don't think Colby hits hard enough, and I think he's going to get hit. And it's not like Masvidal where he's just going to get taken down at will. Shavkat, I think, is
he's
skilled.
more competent.
He should be extremely more competent. Excuse me. I mean, we've seen Colby get taken down. I don't see any reason why Shavkat couldn't take him down too.
I don't know. Colby's different. Who took him down? Usman. Well, that's Usman though.
Yeah,
that's
I understand that.
I mean, that's not Shavkat.
Do you look at Shavkat as a future champion?
I look at him as a future contender for sure.
I look at him as a future champion.
I don't know.
I think he's going to be. I think he's going to have that belt one day.
See, yeah, maybe one day he will, but I don't know who he's going to take it from. When I was watching that fight with Jeff Neal, I said, would Leon Edwards still be there to get smashed in the face back?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I don't know.
Would he have been able to get him down? I don't know. Maybe not.
So yeah, I think Leon Edwards would be a really tough test if he does get that shot.
Yeah, I would agree. We'll see.
Granted,
we'll see where it lines up.
Leon gets past Kamaru. Kamaru will be a very tough fight for Rakhmonov as well.
Well, let's put it this way: if let's just work with the argument that it's going to be against Colby Covington, Shavkat and Colby, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's already been put out there in the world. That sometimes just makes things greases the wheels anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. Colby could be more discerning. It seems like he's not been in a rush to fight ever since he got some steak one night and it didn't go as well as he'd hoped.
What happens when you get sucker punched? Brain got to recover. You also got to ham it up for the lawsuit.
That's true.
So,
I'm pretty sure that's a lot of what it is. Just observationally, it kind of looks that way. But let's say he gets that fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say he wins that fight. Title shot?
Of course.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Colby's
no matter who's in the mix, or would you say? I mean, somebody should get precedence, or is this a stepping stone that leapfrogs him?
He beats Colby, he gets the next shot.
Okay.
Colby's the stepping stone to the title for a minute, I think.
Okay. All right. That sounds fair. You have any other ideas, or you kind of stick with that one too? Did you get an answer from Bilal, by the way?
No, yeah, he's not scheduled to fight anyone.
Do you like Bilal and Shavkat next, or?
I do, just because I would be curious to see how Bilal game plan that, because I think he's a very good game planner.
He is, but a lot of his recent success has come because of what he's been able to do getting the fight to the floor. And if he can't do that, I wonder what we have in store. It's not like Shavkat's some sort of like expert striker, but he just hits hard.
He hits hard, and as we've seen, he does get hit too.
Yeah,
so
that's true. We'll see. But I like a lot of the options there, and I really, like I said, I have very high expectations out of Shavkat Rakhmonov. I think he's the future at 170.
Mm-hmm.
I really believe that we're going to be looking at him having a real good run for a while. But I liked what I saw out of him, and I like that he got tested.
Well, honestly, when I first saw Shavkat, I said just do Hamzat and Shavkat right now for the belt.
Mm-hmm.
Don't even wait. This was before they were both even ranked in the top 10. So.
Another guy everybody's high on, though, is Bo Nickel, who had his
he's
UFC
one of my
debut.
guys.
Yeah, he's one of your guys.
He is. He's on Team Urban.
Okay.
Or I'm on Team Nickel, whatever.
Yeah, I don't think he's on your team. He doesn't know who you are.
I would draft him.
Okay.
To my team.
That's say. Okay.
So
one day we'll do a draft. That'd be fun.
I honestly, at 185, I think you can throw him in there against anybody, and he has a shot.
So I was having a funny conversation, or not a funny conversation, but I was having a conversation with my coworker. He was asking about Bo Nickel. And the weird thing about Bo Nickel is I feel like you could put him in there tomorrow with Alex Pereira, and he could win. Like you reasonably and totally viably, without some sort of weirdness, he could go in there and he could win that fight. But I think along the way, if you were to rush him to that point, there are a lot of people who stand in the way of him getting there that actually would be a problem.
Here's the people.
Because he is a prospect.
Here's the people I think would give him a little bit of trouble.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whitaker.
Yeah.
Cannonier.
Probably.
And Brunson. I think Brunson would be a problem for him.
Brunson coming off the loss even.
Yeah.
Not
just
what about,
because.
What about Dricus du Plessis?
Just because of the good wrestling.
What about du Plessis?
No, I think Bo has a shot there. See, I think Bo has a better chance of beating Israel than he does Derek Brunson.
Okay.
That's where I'm at.
That's interesting. That's an interesting take. But I think the question I would have for
until
you,
he shores up his striking, then he's just going to be awesome everywhere.
Yeah, I don't know what his striking really is at this point.
Has
We don't really know what it is.
Super strong, super heavy power in his right. I think he's got a knockout, but also that's against some guy.
Yeah,
no one using those.
There's different power. Like obviously, if you look at anybody, they've got knockouts on their records, like in the early stages. But they get to UFC and it's decision. I'm not saying that's what he'd be, but I kind of look at those early returns and I'm like, all right, whatever. Let's see it at the higher level. And I really hope that they actually bring him along as a prospect. That's what I want them to do.
I know. I want him to
I know you do. I know you want to have some fun. I know. He's your guy. But I feel like watching him, and maybe this is a hot take, I don't know. He really impressed me, but also I felt like he made enough mistakes in there that like a prospect would be making, like little stuff, right?
Such as?
Well, he kind of need Pickett in the nuts on the way there.
Oh, no, whatever.
No? Okay. Well, he's your guy. I forgot.
Whatever. No, it's not. It's low blow was missed. Instant replay probably should have caught it. But was that actually the finishing sequence of the fight? I don't think so.
I'm not saying it. No,
but that's what
I'm
people
not
are saying.
Yeah, I'm not going down that road, actually. I'm not going as far as that. But I'm saying there's enough mistakes, and like he had that choke, right? He had the choke,
right.
And everyone's like, oh, it's finished. And then like you see him, he doesn't really have it. Like he's got to adjust. He does adjust.
Well, he makes the adjustments.
I give him credit.
Yeah.
You give him all that credit in the world, right? But I feel like Jamie Pickett wasn't in there to stop the takedown and stop the grappling. Like, he kind of just was a tailor-made matchup.
Well, yeah.
So let's see him against some other prospects along the way who can actually do something to stop. Like, Shavkat had to pass a test in this card.
Right.
I think he should have to pass some tests.
Yeah,
I want to see that.
Oh, Roman Dolidze.
You want to put him that high already?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go there.
I disagree.
Brendan Allen.
You obviously want to rush
Brendan Allen off a win. A big win for Brendan Allen.
That's very bold. I don't love that one.
Go that one. Kelvin Gastelum. Is he still hurt?
I don't know.
Chris Curtis. Just anybody. I don't even care. He doesn't have to be ranked.
Well, that's the thing. I just want him to be treated a little more like a pro. It just doesn't have to be forever. But like maybe get 2022 under or 2023, under his belt, and let's see where we're at. Just get him some more. Get him in there quickly though. Give him like 4 or 5 fights.
6 fights.
I mean, sure, but that's not gonna happen.
I'll settle for 5.
I feel like you should. If you get 4, you should be ecstatic.
I guess.
3 more.
Yeah.
3, 6, 9, 12. June. See him in June.
See him in June.
All right. Finish up in December and September.
International Fight Week.
Are you going?
No.
Oh. Okay.
No. I'll be there the week before.
How'd you plan it that way?
Well, that's when the World Series of Poker schedule is.
I see. Gotcha. Well, that was it for the main topics. I did want to touch, of course, real quick before we get into contested rounds on the unanimous rounds, which we had 21 out of 28. Busy night for the judges. 14 fights. 15 if you count Jake Gyllenhaal getting the win over Jay Haran.
Jake Gyllenhaal. He must have got DQ'd, actually.
Oh, that's right.
He had to get DQ'd.
I saw that. Yeah, that was rough. I mean, he probably should be banned from the UFC forever.
Pushing Chris Tognoni all over the place.
Yeah. Honestly, he probably should just go back and like be banished from the UFC, and I don't know, maybe he has to work as a bouncer, right?
I heard that, yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's another guy in that movie too.
I don't know.
He's an Irish fella, Connor.
Ian Gary.
He had a good finish too.
Yeah, he looked good. He really did. That was nice too, because real quick on Ian Gary, I've thought he would be a really interesting prospect at 170. I see his limits now. We've seen him a bunch, but I think he needed to get this finish to kind of get over this, like, okay, I'm just winning decisions. Like, I'm finding that I can't get past this level of competition to actually put them away. And I think that's what you need to do to be able to really move up the ladder.
Yeah, you got to get finishes.
Yeah, I think you do. If you get up there and you're winning decisions, it's very hard to win the championship unless you're like an elite wrestler, which he obviously is not.
I also thought some of those fights going to decision were by design.
Maybe
just
not.
to get that cage time.
I don't
maybe
think
that could
I don't
just
think
be
that
what
was
they're
the case
saying.
this time.
No, not this. No, we got the finish.
Yeah, but obviously it took a very long time.
Yeah.
But the point being, he chased it down. He was able to make it happen even late in the fight. So I thought that was really good thing for him, and that should definitely give a boost to his, I guess, rise, right?
For sure.
But yeah, I still see limits. But again, 21 out of 28 rounds unanimous, 75%. That's a good number. A little bit higher than is the typical average, right? 70, 71. 2 of those were 8-9 splits too. So there's only 5 times where they disagreed on the round winner. And we'll talk about why don't we get 3 of them out of the way in one fight? Yeah. Let's start a contested rounds with Mateusz Gamrot against Jalen Turner. A split decision with varied scores all over the place, 30-27, 29-28, and then 29-28 the other way for Jalen Turner. I believe it was John Anik during the fight said, we tough to judge this one. Probably the scores could be, might be all over the place, and he was obviously right.
Yeah.
But expected too, reasonably so.
For sure.
So let's start with round 1, Dan. What happened here?
Well, yeah, both guys were doing pretty good on the feet here. I think Turner was landing heavier and better. And I thought he was landing a bit more, at least to the head. Gamrot gets the takedown, but once he's on the ground, he doesn't really do anything with it. Turner gets back to the feet, lands a couple big shots. I thought that seemed to stumble Gamrot a little bit, and he shot after these shots for the takedown. I think it's very close, but I do think Turner was the more effective fighter. So 10-9 Turner.
I also went for Turner here. I think yeah, you're talking about what's the effect on trying to get to the the finish, like work your way toward a finish, and what effect was put on your opponent. And I do feel like I can make a better case personally for Jalen Turner here.
Yeah, I do too.
So while we disagreed with David Lethaby and Ron McCarthy, who saw this win for Gamrot, we saw it the same way as Derek Cleary. And well, what does that mean for Judge Cleary?
Couchside override.
That will be in the mail, working its way down to Georgia. Round 2, sir.
I thought Turner was looking really good on the feet here. He cracked him with a couple good ones. Gamrot did keep it decently close on the feet, but and he eventually shoots for the takedown. I thought he landed some good shots from the crucifix position, and that's really what swayed it for me. 10-9 Gamrot.
Likewise, I think I wanted to give more weight to what was happening on the feet, but ultimately you couldn't. I think the fact that he got that crucifix and was able to land pretty well, very late like that, it swayed me. I went over that way. I feel comfortable with that one.
Yeah, me too.
I think this for me was Gamrot's best round.
Okay.
Disagree?
No, I mean I don't know if I really had an opinion on that.
All right, fair enough. So obviously you and I saw it the same way. Gamrot, Derek Cleary saw it this way. Ron McCarthy saw it this way. It was David Lethaby who was the dissenter, seeing it for Jalen Turner. But I mean, I get it. Hey, I kind of would have gone that way except for the end there.
Okay.
Round 3.
I think this one's decently close on the feet as Turner is landing a little better, but it's Gamrot, that's beating up Turner against the fence. A couple Storley knees were mixed in, but I do think he did really well in this clinch position. Turner does get a solid left in the mix that somewhat wobbled Gamrot, but on the whole, I do think Gamrot's offense was better. 10-9 Gamrot.
No, I went the other way here. I actually did see this one as a Turner round. I thought the fact that he was able to wobble him a little bit more, I thought that was the more effective element of this round.
Okay.
Close rounds all, I think. It's
yeah, tough round, tough fights to score.
There's no way you're looking at this any of this fight really and saying, okay, I think part of it is it's not just that it's close. I think there's interesting arguments to be made for both cases, right? We tended to agree on this one. We obviously disagreed on this round, and I think this was just a close round. I think round 2 in particular was one where it was like, okay, there's an interesting argument to be made the other way. I'm not making it, but I could see it,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I saw this one for Turner. I'm split from you here. I'm with David Lethaby on this one. You're with Judges Cleary and McCarthy. So as it turns out, I ended up with a different scorecard than any of the judges. So mine was 29-28 Turner, but because of rounds 1 and 3, no one did that. You, sir, had the same card as Derek Cleary.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Cleary ride.
You ride together?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, this is just one of those tough fights that I think Jalen Turner looked good. It definitely showed that he's got to shore up that takedown defense a little bit more. I think if he just stays off his back a little bit better, he should win
Right.
this fight. Like, and it really shouldn't be that hard to give it to him in that point. But
Mhm.
he wasn't able to do that. Tough to get to that crucifix position, of course, and he did get out of it a little bit at one point, but earlier in the fight. But yeah, ultimately, you just can't allow yourself to get there and stay there.
Mm-hmm.
Such a dominant position. I feel like that more fighters should work. Like, obviously, it's easier said than done, but I think there's a lot more fighters who would benefit from saying, "Okay, let's get to the crucifix and just pound."
Yeah, I want to say 10 years ago, that was like our goal. It was called the lazy boy position, where we're cross side, and then you get the underhook on the arm, and then you put your hand behind your head like you're laying down on a lazy boy, and then you trap the other arm, and then you just go to work with elbows.
Valentina Shevchenko was actually very good in that position, and I was surprised in this fight too. In her fight with Alexa Grasso, she got the position, but only briefly. Grasso was able to get out.
I kind of thought she was going to get smashed there.
I did,
but then she got out.
No, that's what I'm saying. That was really impressive to do that against her. Like, that showed some real grit.
Was she the one that kept pulling the arm through in a previous fight?
Shevchenko?
I know there was a female fight, crucifix position where. Oh no, that was Blanchfield. Just kept pulling Molly McCann.
Yes, Molly McCann.
Okay.
Yes, she did that in that fight. Yeah, that was a real good. She gets that position is important, and I think that's going to be a key to. She probably watched Valentina Shevchenko and realized its effectiveness.
Just smash from there.
It's a great spot. I would like to see more fighters do that. But again, it's easier said than done, and not everybody can get it. Not everybody can hold it either.
John Jones will do it.
John Jones should do it more. I've always thought John Jones should just get every fight to the floor. Like, I know he can strike to a degree. He's a solid striker. He's not like a gifted striker.
Mm-hmm.
He's good, but he would just have. I think he would have gotten Thiago Santos out of there quick if he tried to do that. I think he would have gotten.
The guy had no ACLs.
Yeah.
Like, he could have took him down like 2 seconds.
I think he'd have done it anyway. Even without the torn ACLs, he should have been able to do it anyway. I think it would have worked on him. I think it would have worked on Dominic Reyes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a decent chance he probably could have made it happen against Anthony Lionheart-Smith as well. Doesn't take the easy road all the time. When everyone talks about how he's got this amazing fight IQ, and I'm like, are you sure? Because this is not the same fighter that I'm talking about. I'm talking about a fighter who should do something different.
Like I said, he's bored.
I understand. Anyway, I've heard a lot of people talk about that fight IQ with him, and it's definitely better than his normal life decision-making IQ, I would say. Anyway, we can leave John for another time. We've already talked ad nauseum, I think, about John. But let's go to our next fight. Cameron Simon, right?
Yep.
Simon got the win over Mana Martinez. Majority decision, 29-26, 28-27, and 28-28. Just a very typical set of scores that we typically get from these fights. Normal day. There's obviously a reason for that. Let's go to round one, where we'll talk about, a couple things.
Yeah. Both guys, I thought they were landing pretty good. I think Simon keeps losing his footing and getting clipped. This is the result of a leg kick. Simon did land some good shots of his own, especially towards the second half of the round. I think it's very close, but I think Martinez was more effective on the whole, wins the round, and unfortunately for Simon, like you're going to bring up, he goes down 2 points because of it, because of 2 fouls.
Well, on the couple cards he does.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're split here. Yeah. So, I mean, I had this one for Martinez too. I thought it was a close one, and it's like one of those, like, you can kind of make 2 arguments for it, and it's like almost like, which one do you like better? Because I think Mana overall is hitting better, but also doing more damage. Right? He's leaving the nose bloodied. Clearly, that's an issue. That's good damage. But also, I do think Simon was landing very well with a lot of his strikes, and I think he probably landed more often. I just didn't go that way.
So when Martinez is landing, there's big effect to it, I feel.
Reactions and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so the head is getting snapped back. Mm-hmm. He's falling down to one knee, which, is due to that one leg kick that shut off the nerve.
Yeah.
And then you'd have moments like you're mentioning with Simon when he's throwing a stiff straight, and it's like, wow, that definitely landed hard.
Sure.
So very close round. I do think Martinez was better, though.
Yeah, I think so too. I feel good about my score, but also if someone made the argument about Simon, I was like, oh, I totally get it. Like, I think they both just had like a decent round of their own, save for obviously the point deduction. But yeah, you and I both saw it the same way as Sal D'Amato and Chris Lee. It was Adelaide Bird who saw this one for Simon. But again, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Works for me. very close.
Let's talk a little more about the point deduction, though, because obviously this was the result of 2 nut shots. The first one looked like it was painful too. Just kind of like got that off with the stern warning, the typical, you always get a free nut shot, you know, which I feel like every fighter should just use.
Just take it.
Just why not?
Bang.
I mean, either enforce it, which is what I'd really prefer you do, or you might as well do what you can within not just, it's not the rules, but within the allowance of the fighters or the referees, because God forbid the referee, insert themselves into the fight by enforcing the rules that every fight is abided by. Obviously, I have giant criticism for that kind of overall practice, not any one ref. But at the very least here, we do get the point deduction on the second one. This was Herb Dean, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, Herb Dean takes the point after the second one. This was another tough one, a clear one. It doesn't matter if he meant to do it or not. He's just reckless. He's reckless with his weapons.
Yeah, well, Herb Dean was like,
Need some water?
no, I'm good. He was like, watch that strike. You're coming up a little high on it.
Mm-hmm.
And like
He's trying to help him there, yeah.
2 seconds later, he throws the same kick.
I know.
And he's like, come on, I tried to help you. I got to take a point.
I know.
Like, can't do nothing here.
I feel like that's what referees are. They're like, hey man, don't make me be the bad guy. I don't want to be the bad guy. Just don't mess up again. And then they mess up again, and they're like, oh, you're gonna make me do it, aren't you? All right, fine. But it's so annoying. Like, it's the rule. Like, you're there to enforce it. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think if we enforced them all the time, you'd just see it less. And the fighters who couldn't adjust, they would pay for it. I'm sorry. That's just the way it should be. Because I think Mana Martinez suffered as a result of this. I don't think... Because I thought he looked even better through the first, 3 minutes of the fight before he gets that, especially that second nut shot, I think. I thought he looked pretty good. And then it's kind of after that, he just didn't look the same. Is he going to win from that point if it doesn't happen? I don't know. Probably not. But we also don't know how much that actually took away from him.
Yeah, you don't know how much it diminished him.
And that's why the point was taken. I applaud that much. Yeah, so I feel good about it at least happening, but it's like, come on. Why does it have to take 2? It should be 1.
I guess. I mean, you also can't take away an inside leg kick. It's a weapon.
So land it better.
If you land
the second one, and granted, the second one, I'm sorry, but it did. They were talking about maybe he level changed, right? That could be at least part of that. But it's damage.
It's damage, but it's also I don't know. I find low blows tough unless they're like that one we saw in Bellator, like really bad.
What's the worst low blow that you can think of from a fight?
Joe Son doing it intentionally, like UFC 11 or something.
All right,
like that.
let's go to the era of rules. How about that? Let's say the last 22 years or so.
It was legal. It wasn't illegal. Or there was no rule against it. You just anytime you fouled, you got fined like $1,000.
Yeah.
So it didn't go against the actual fight record or something.
But in the era of rules,
I don't even know the guy's.
How about that?
Yeah, I don't know the guy's name, but he ate 2 hellacious low blows in Bellator not too long ago. And of recent memory, that's the worst ones I can think of.
I'm not remembering which one you're talking about, but the one that I always think back to, this is going way back, and I think you'll remember it too, Chris Tuchscherer. Do you remember him? He was a heavyweight training partner of Brock Lesnar.
Okay.
And I want to say, I'm forgetting who the opponent is. I remember him eating them more than I remember who gave them. I want to say it was Gabriel Gonzaga.
Okay, maybe.
And
maybe
he had to be carried out of the ring or the cage or something like that, if I recall.
I don't remember.
I don't know. I'd have to look back. I'm not going to watch that fight again. That's torture porn. But I want to say that was the worst one that I can kind of think of. There's just nothing worse. But also, that being at heavyweight, it makes a lot more sense, right? Gonzaga could kick, too. Just ask Krokop.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Let's fast forward, though, to round 3 to get back to Simon and Martinez. Round 3 is another round in which we're going to talk about the scoring. But this is an 8-9 round.
Yeah.
But there's another aspect of this we'll talk about, too. So why don't you set it up?
Yeah, Simon's winning. It's clear here. Martinez is returning fire, but Simon, obviously, much more effective. He pokes Martinez in the eye. Gets another foul. No point taken. He gets the takedown, lands some big ground and pound towards the end, probably the last 30 seconds. Elbows, punches. I just don't think we get 2 Ds here. I think we have damage. Not a huge amount of damage. I just don't think we have any other Ds really all that strongly. So I think it's just a 10-9.
Yeah, I do too. I think this, it's not even a very big 10-8, I don't think, at all. Would it even be a big 10-8 in our kind of middle ground system, right?
Honestly, I thought round 2 for a while. I was like, are we sure that's not the round?
Yeah.
That was there a mix-up? But
sure enough.
So
yeah, I was a little surprised to see this one end up with not just 1 8 but 2 8s. Not that I'm hating the idea of more 8s, obviously.
Oh no, yeah, we love them.
We want more, but this felt like a misapplication of what you would typically try to get more of with the 8s. I think this is more like a 9. It doesn't really matter. I think everybody who's scoring this knows where their fight card is at. Although I guess, well, here's the thing. Here's something to think about, sir. And I'm not saying that this is why they did it, but let's just play devil's advocate here a little bit. They know that they had to take a point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Judge Chris Lee and Judge Adelaide Bird obviously gave an 8 here. Now, Judge Bird's card isn't going to matter because she gave every round to Simon.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Lee, if he only gives a 9, then this is a draw on his card, right?
So we'd have a majority draw then.
Same as Sal D'Amato. Now, granted, he is not alone because Judge Bird also gave the 8, and it would have been irrelevant for her to give it. She just gave it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not trying to play any conspiracy theory card. I don't think that's what Chris Lee did to try and just say, okay, we actually have a winner instead of not. I don't think that's what actually happened here, but it at least has that kind of appearance. You can't ignore that the way it looks to people.
I suppose.
I disagree. I don't actually think that's what transpired.
No, that didn't happen.
I really don't.
No.
But when that happens, when we have a round that seems like a very weird 10-8,
People
in
say
this
that?
type of situation, I'm not saying anybody would say it. But
did someone say it?
No, I don't think
No?
so. But
Okay.
I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Oh, okay.
Because it's one of those things that I think probably people just kind of look past this fight. There were so many other fights going on, right?
Yeah, they all big.
When we have big judging controversies, they usually happen higher up on the card. Or at least they last longer when they're higher up on the card. People kind of tend to move on if it's on the undercard of a pay-per-view.
Because there's something to take their mind off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
People get bored. That's why they complain. But I'm saying if there was anything that would kind of give a weird appearance, and again, I want to stress, I do not actually believe that is what transpired here because I just don't think so. I mean, it makes a lot of sense next to Judge Bird's card too. But it is a weird thing, right? It's a weird time to give an 8.
Yeah, I mean, Kate's side, maybe those elbows and punches were heavier.
Maybe it is.
Maybe the D got
I would say that's the more realistic turn. I'm really just playing devil's advocate here, to be clear. But I also wanted to talk more particularly about the eye poke because you kind of glazed over the eye poke. It took a while to get the fight going again. First off,
Herb Dean explained what you got to do. You got to put some water on it and it'll clear up.
Right. But that's damage. He suffered some damage here. And from that point on, what happened? He got taken down and probably led to the 8.
Yeah, possibly.
Take another point. I say take another point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm torn. I mean, I guess take another point, but
I'm very okay with this being converted over from a what ended up being a majority decision win. If we lose one more point here, it's a split draw. I'm really okay with that.
I'd be fine with it too.
With all the fouls in this fight, like why not? You know, especially Mana Martinez. I feel like he actually won that first round.
Like he was warning,
and you can make the argument again, but
Herb was warning Simon. You know, he kept saying fingers, or am I misremembering? It's pretty extended fingers.
Was he? I don't recall.
I don't recall either. If that's the case, then yeah, maybe take the point. But I don't know. I'm torn. In one sense, I say he fouled, take the point. The other sense is Simon's having a pretty good performance here. We're gonna take the win from him. Whatever. I don't know. I'm
okay with it because honestly, if we're going with the fact that we don't see a 9, right? What's our scorecard going to end up being, right? So you and I had this the same. So we had Mana Martinez winning the first round. There's a point deduction there. So he wins at 10-8. And then we have the other 2 points that are lost. Or not the other points that are lost, but the other 2 rounds he loses. So that makes it a draw. I'm okay with him actually getting a win out of this because he got fouled so many times. I think it's okay.
Yeah.
And if that's not okay, maybe we just start turning things into no contests and they don't actually go anywhere. Like that's just what it would be. The rules don't support that. But if we're not comfortable with the idea of somebody who commits so many fouls taking a loss or taking a setback to their career like that, even a draw, then just make it a no contest.
I'd be more okay with a no contest than Martinez getting a win here.
I guess that's why I'm suggesting it really is the idea that, hey, maybe it's just, maybe this is a BS fight.
But also then you got Diego Sanchez gets a win off an illegal knee.
Yeah.
Via DQ. I don't know. I don't know.
I would really just like to see more foul enforcement. That's all I want.
That's a good point. More foul enforcement.
More foul enforcement. It would deter. And obviously, this is a kid. It's not going to be his end of the road. I think he's only 22, Simon.
Mm-hmm.
He takes a loss here even. What's it do?
Well, Zoe was gone.
Sure.
So.
But he's not going to... I'm going to state for the record, I do not think Cameron Simon is going to run the table in his MMA career. I don't think he's going to retire alongside Khabib Nurmagomedov as an undefeated MMA champion. I think he's going to get that gone at one point. And if it lost here, at least it's at the low level and as well because of fouls rather than him actually losing the fight and not being a good fighter,
Mm-hmm.
I think we can look past that a little bit more almost,
Yeah.
right?
Well, no one's going to remember this win anyway.
It's true.
So
Everyone has short memories because everyone gets so up in arms like, oh, this guy didn't win this fight. No way he won this fight. But then 3 months later they fight again. It's like, well, he's coming off a loss. Everyone just moves on. They just accept it anyway.
Yeah.
What the hell are you doing? Be mad still or just don't get mad at all. I don't know. Anyway, there's one more fight we got to talk about. Less controversy, I think, in this one, right?
Yeah.
Not that there was real controversy in that fight. Again, I want to stress one more time, devil's advocate. I do not think Chris Lee did anything improper. I think it's perfectly fine. I disagree with the 8.
Okay.
But it is what it is. Amanda Ribas got the win over Viviane Araújo. 30-26, 30-27, 29-27. We've got splits in round 1 and 2, although one of them is an 8-9. Let's start with round 1.
Yeah, I thought this was a crazy close round. Araújo gets a guillotine early. And I thought it was a pretty good attempt. It looks like she was attacking with an S grip, which I thought was interesting. Ribas pops her head out though, and she's on top. Lands some strikes here because Araújo's coming up to her knee, has her arm kind of behind Ribas, so she's punching her a couple times in the face there. Also before that, when they were on the ground after she escaped from Araújo was punching her in the face a whole bunch of times. Probably not that much on there. On the feet again. Ribas is landing a decent amount of strikes, but I think Araújo's are the ones that have the real impact on him. Ribas looked stumbled, especially after one closer towards the end of the round. Really close round, but I got 10-9 Araújo.
Yeah, me too. I think you have to give a lot of weight to that guillotine choke attack. I think it was something she really had to defend there, and if she doesn't, maybe the fight's over.
Mm-hmm.
She defends it well,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely, but it's there. It seems like the most significant and effective offense of the round. And otherwise, I thought it was relatively competitive. So I feel good about Araújo here.
All right.
Does that sound fair?
Fair.
You can make the case for Ribas. I get it. She's landing.
Yeah, I don't think the guillotine was as good as you have it, but
Yeah,
so
that's fine.
still a good attack. So
No, I think it's worth scoring. Like when you
yeah, no, you
a
have to
guillotine.
score
Does it need to be on for 10 seconds? What's kind of the bar here? It looked like a good attack. It looked like she had it as best as she could for what it was.
that. Mm-hmm.
So I think it was one that would have been capable of finishing if it wasn't defended well enough. Sometimes you get those guillotine chokes and it's like they don't really have anything there. Like it doesn't feel dangerous.
Yeah, they're
you
like,
know?
yeah, John doesn't have this guillotine in.
Yeah.
Oh, tap, tap, tap.
Oh, sorry. This happens. Does this not happen more often with Joe Rogan now?
Maybe. I don't notice.
I feel like it
really.
does. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of always happened from time to time with a lot of people, and it can be hard to tell because you're not right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But man, just learn to couch the language a bit more. You sound weird at the end.
Well,
I don't know.
They did it again the end of this fight, round 3, when Araújo goes for that armbar.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, oh, you remember Frank Mir and Tim Sylvia?
Yeah,
When I snapped
that was what I tweeted that out too because I was like, man, I really like, and I do mean this sincerely. I actually like that Joe Rogan makes a lot of his references to fights that from when I was watching, right?
Yeah.
When you and I were really watching the Attitude Era,
Yeah.
that you're referring to.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of his references are from that time. He just doesn't call back a lot of fights of the last 8 years.
But honestly, they're more memorable in my memory too.
I guess,
Then all these fights now just blend together.
but at
There's
the
just
same
the
time,
machine, keep it churning.
But what does that reference hold? How much of the fan base now is guys like us who remember
Yeah.
that? I feel like it's turned over a lot
I
because
suppose.
then they get new fans. But I know a lot of people who used to watch and were big fans and like, yeah, I don't really watch anymore. Like in my real world life, I know people like that, and I'm like, why? They're like, I can't keep up with the number of events. I'm like, that's fair.
Yeah, it's just a machine now.
It is a machine. But yeah, that was just what my thought. It was like, who's he making the reference for? No one gets that.
For me.
We get that, obviously, but
Yeah.
a lot of people don't. So I don't know. I don't really know where we're going this one. We were talking about round 1. Are we done with round 1?
I said 10-9 Araújo. You said 10-9 Araújo.
What does that mean for the judge? In this case, Mike Bell, who was on his own.
Couch side over.
Sorry for Judges D'Amato and McCarthy. They do not get a couch side over. Nor would they, because they were in unison. Round 2, though. Maybe there's an opportunity here. Let's talk about round 2.
Yeah, Araujo gets dropped with a right hand as she's like kind of just running towards her, almost Bader, Machida style.
Yeah, a little bit.
I had to throw in an old reference.
There you go.
Yeah.
No, I like it. That's great. I mean, you're throwing out Joe's son.
Yeah.
And I've got Chris Tuchscher.
Hebus gets on top in half guard and starts landing some decent shots, for most of the round. Then she mounts her for a little bit. Then she switches over to the back, landing a couple punches, maybe threatening the choke, not really attacking it too much. I thought she had some pretty good damage, pretty good dominance and duration. I think we have enough Ds here. I'm 10-8.
Yeah, I felt good about that one. It kind of took till the end for me to really kind of get over that hump, though.
Okay.
I didn't. It was like obviously the big start, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it took me like the consideration at the end of the fact that like, man, what did Araujo even do?
That was coupled with Araujo doing absolutely zilch.
I think that's a big
Helps,
thing, and I think
so.
Hebus was able to advance her position and get further along in the grappling, and I think that had a lot to do with it. It was the fact that she had the damage there early, she had the grappling dominance, in fact that she was able to advance, and she had this for the duration of the round. Yeah, I got my 3Ds too.
Bam.
10-8. Hebus looked really good in this fight. Obviously gets the win by decision, and I mean I wasn't sure what to make of her at 125 pounds. Obviously, she had a really good showing in a defeat. Some people gave her the win, but I still think probably Caitlin Chukagian did beat her in that fight. I feel like that's fine. That's like a decent result, like a totally that I felt better about that one.
Yeah,
but she was competitive, and I still didn't really know what to make of her. I'm like, what is this? But she goes in there. She looks really good at 125. Good for her. Another fighter who said, I don't need to cut weight anymore.
Yeah,
or not the same anyway. Hopefully.
Yeah, forget weight cutting.
Yeah, but so we were on the same 8-page as Judges Bell and D'Amato. It was Ron McCarthy on his own here, just the 9.
All right.
That's all right. And that's it for the rounds. Had a lot of finishes, though.
Whole bunch.
14 fights, 8 finishes, 3 by KO or TKO, 5 by submission. That makes 5 straight weeks, Dan, where there's been more submissions than strike-based finishes in a UFC event. This is a wild run that they're on.
Keep it up.
I feel like it's a blip.
Just keep it up.
I don't think it's actually going to keep up. I think it's going to lose steam, and we're going to see way more finishes by strikes by the end of the year. But it is fascinating that this just keeps happening. It's not just like over time there's more. It's at every single event there's been more for 5 weeks.
All right.
Wild.
I like it.
2 fights ended in the first round, including John Jones. What was your favorite?
John Jones.
Oh, there you go.
Reminded everybody just who he is.
Who is he? The GOAT?
The GOAT.
Is he anything else?
The #1 heavyweight in the world.
Mm-hmm.
The GOAT again. The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be.
No, I think that's somebody else.
Of the Attitude Era of MMA.
That's someone else.
And the current present. Bam. The GOAT.
What do you want Bret Hart to do to you?
Sharpshooter.
Fair enough. We know what you want.
What was your favorite?
My favorite was Shavkat, actually. Softens Neil up for 14 minutes. Obviously, he's taken a little bit of damage there, but he's putting in the work.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly winning this fight. Doesn't give up on the finish. He still, even though he told me last year, he's like, he doesn't care about if he has to get the decision. It's fine. It is what it is. I just want the win. He still keeps the streak alive. He is finishing everybody who is put in front of him. And that's the way you move to the top. You finish everybody. So he managed to get that in the 15th and final minute of the fight, standing rear naked choke.
It was people were kind of didn't know what to call it, actually.
Yeah, I guess it was a little different, right?
It seemed I would like Kenny Florian called it a schoolyard choke or a bulldog variant.
Yeah, it kind of looked like that.
I think it should be called the bouncer choke.
The bouncer.
Because that's what they put you in when you're in a fight and they sneak up behind you and they drag you out the back door by your neck. It's like, I like to call it the bouncer choke.
So is Shavkat going to be working at the Spearmint Rhino or something now? Or
I bet he'll have offers.
I don't imagine that will jive with his religion. Oh, but yeah, obviously that was a fantastic finish. I'm very likely to give Shavkat one of these awards because he Rogan hit it on the head, man. He's right up my alley.
Yeah.
I
and
enjoy
he got a cool new hat tattooed.
That's right. Rogan did have that. Yeah. And terrific fighter, terrific Terrific night of fights. I think it was a good night of fights.
It was good.
It was good. That's it, though, for this past weekend. Let's move on to the upcoming weekend where we've got Bellator Friday and UFC Saturday. And I think both of these have some pretty good cards. It's nice that they're not going to be competing in any way. I like that.
Yeah, and I especially like that the UFC starts at the main card's at 6 on Saturday.
A little earlier.
I like that.
Yeah. You don't have any plans? It's not going to interrupt your plans?
Not this weekend, no.
Okay. That's good.
As of now.
The only problem for me is that I don't know exactly when that starts prelim-wise. I think
3 p.m.
3 p.m.?
Yep.
Okay, maybe I'll be all right by then. My son has a birthday party that weekend. It's his birthday. Been delayed for months. No. It's been delayed for months because he got sick at one point. Yeah, these things happen. Yeah. So, but I think I'll be done by then. I think and we're only going to the mall. We're going to Build-A-Bear.
That's pretty
Build-A-Bear
cool.
workshop. He'll build a bear, and then I'll have some pizza, and then we'll go home.
Nice.
Nice and easy. I don't have to do anything.
That's a good birthday.
I have no idea how I'm going to get the presents home though. Like, how am I going to carry these things through the mall? Like, do they store them for me? I don't know. We'll have to figure that out. Not your problem. Let's talk about Bellator instead. Bellator 292.
Yeah,
Friday night in California, so we'll get some top-notch judging there.
for sure. Well,
10 p.m. Eastern time start time, we said, right? For main card on Showtime.
Yeah, 7 p.m.
It's back to Showtime, guys.
prelims.
It's not on CBS. Obviously, we had another card in between there anyway. So, but yeah, this is the start of the 155-pound lightweight Grand Prix.
Yes,
I like it.
with the title fight.
Headlined by Usman Nurmagomedov and Benson Smooth Henderson. Another title shot for Benson Henderson. He's got this. I wonder if this could be his last chance because it doesn't sound like he wants to fight a whole lot longer.
I would suppose. I mean, how many more is he gonna get?
Yeah. It probably is the last chance for him. So I think it's fascinating. You have to wonder what he's going to be able to put up against Usman Nurmagomedov, a young up-and-coming champion. Benson's been he's been a terrific fighter for a long time, but it's been tougher his last few times.
We'll see. I mean, it's just so Ben Henderson to go out there and win.
It would be, wouldn't it?
It would just be Ben Henderson.
Yeah.
In a nutshell.
Yeah.
So should be interesting.
And imagine if he wins this and then he goes on to win the tournament and then he's just like, I'm outie.
See ya.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Praise God. See you later.
But I don't think it'd be quite with that little enthusiasm.
That's true.
But it would be a toothpick. There'd definitely be a toothpick involved.
Yeah.
The other one though, there's another Grand Prix bout on here, and again, this is 5 rounds, but it's not a title fight. Obviously, Taufik Musayev against Alexander Shabliy. You like this one?
Sure.
I mean, I like this tournament. I like Musayev. I don't know how you feel about Musayev, but I'm very interested in him.
The Grand Prix. Anytime when fights matter.
Are you not as familiar with these fighters?
I am not.
Okay. I think you'll like Musayev's game.
All right.
Yeah. But I like this fight. There's a bunch of fights even on the prelims that I like, but the one that stood out, you highlighted this one, but I agree. The one that stood out for me on the main card, especially outside of the Grand Prix, was Michael Venom Page and Goichi Yamauchi.
Yeah, that one should.
I like Yamauchi. I think he's kind of been very under the radar for a long time. He used to fight at 55. Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong guy, but he might have even fought as low as 45 at one point. But he's at 170 here. He's been at 170 for a little bit, and he's finishing guys at 170. He's a good fighter.
Maybe
I like
just beat
watching him.
Neiman Gracie.
Yeah, I like watching him. He's a good fighter. I could totally see him meeting Michael Page and getting a shot at maybe the title.
I'm
Yaroslav Amosov.
I'm thinking this will be a better fight than the last Page fight.
Probably. The bar is low. That was obviously the genesis of the Storley knees.
Yes.
Which were landed by Logan Storley.
Mm-hmm.
But did you look at the prelims too? I know you didn't highlight anything, but
I looked through.
I think it looks
glanced
solid.
at him.
I think it's a solid. I don't even hate the heavyweight fight. It's Linton Vassell and Valentin Moldavsky, right?
I don't even know it. I didn't look at any.
I believe so. I don't hate that fight either. This is a solid card. I think it's a good one. Bellator has done a real good job, I think, on putting on more interesting cards top to bottom in, let's say, like the last year at the very least. Maybe less than a year.
They actually lost a
It's
fight
been quite a while.
since the last time I looked at it.
Yeah. Which one?
I don't know.
No.
Islam Mamedov and Shamil Nikayev. I think that because last time I looked, they had 14 fights. Now they only got 13.
Oh, that's terrible. Why bother watching? I'm very much in favor of like 10 to 12 fights.
Barzola and Perez are probably pretty good.
I like that one too. Yeah. Eric Perez. Yeah. But over to UFC, and this one is in Vegas. But for once, we have a fight night in Vegas that is not at the Apex.
They're not at the Apex till like the end of April.
Is it that long? I actually haven't looked that far ahead.
Yeah.
That's wild. Good for us. we all win here. But the fact that this is in Nevada, sir, it doesn't necessarily mean that officials who work in the California card and Bellator the night before couldn't work this one. They said you can travel as far as Nevada from California. That was, remember, the edict they put out about travel and that kind of thing. That's not necessarily a disqualifier here. We could potentially see some officials who work both.
And we've been seeing Ben Cartledge and David Leatherby a lot in Nevada.
We have,
so
absolutely. Deservedly so.
They maybe just want to buy a house in Nevada. Just live here.
They might.
They might want to do that because they're getting that
but
much
how
work.
how are they going to get their sandwiches with beans on them?
I saw a video about this.
What's this?
I saw kids from England trying biscuits and gravy.
Biscuits and gravy, okay.
And at the end of it, they really liked it, but they hated the way it looked, and they compared it to beans and toast.
Uh-huh.
They said it's probably like how an American would look at beans and toast. Like how we know it's good, they'll probably look at it and say, hey, and then they try it, and it probably tastes pretty good.
See, I don't love beans to begin with, so like when I see that, I'm like, no, thank you.
Okay.
I mean, I'll eat things that are beans. Black beans I would prefer, especially. I prefer black beans.
Right.
They're a little better for you, if I remember, too. But I also don't mind them so much. So like when I can choose which bean, I would choose black bean.
All right.
But yeah, I probably, when I do get over to across the pond, which will happen at some point, I look forward to that day. I definitely want to check out where my family roots are from, Scotland especially. Maybe over to Birmingham one day, where some of my mom's family had come from about 150 years ago. I probably will not be having beans on toast. That's just not. I don't see that happening. Yeah, I'll have to get better recommendations than just that. So hopefully, someone will help me out when that day comes. But back to UFC. I really like the headliner here. Love it, actually. I love this one. I think this is a great fight. There's an interesting dynamic here too, because Merab Dvalishvili, who is fighting Peter Yan here, when Peter Yan was getting ready to fight Aljamain Sterling the second time last year, Merab was obviously at the gym. They're buddies. They're always training together. I was there one day, and it happened to be the day that they all got together and they took a team photo with the flag of Ukraine. Merab Dvalishvili is from Republic of Georgia. There is no love lost for Russians among Georgians. Piotr Yan, obviously a Russian. I think there's a dynamic here that's kind of fascinating, and I don't know how much they're going to play that up in the hype or anything like that, but I would be surprised if this wasn't something that was in Merab's mind at least a little bit.
Possibly. I would think it'd be more in his head than Jan's.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think Peter Yan's really thinking about it like that, but I think that Merab might be potentially could be extra motivated for this one for several reasons, including the fact that it's obviously a former rival of his friend.
Outside of the cage, all I know about Merab is that he loves taking pictures with fans.
He is,
and he loves joining pictures of people taking pictures with Aljo and just joining him.
He is a super affable guy. If you ever spent like 10 minutes with him, I bet you'd have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I bet so.
He seems like, because I've only had a conversation with him on we were doing a Zoom interview last year, and he was at the UFC PI, and he couldn't find the right spot to like get a good signal. So I'm like watching him as he's like trying to find like a good spot, and we're like trying to make small talk that's going, and it was really funny. So I got like a decent tour, like a pixelated tour of the UFC PI. But yeah, he's a fun character. But I love this fight. I mean, it's a great fight. I think it's an interesting clash of styles here because Piotr Yan, obviously, I think is a pretty well-rounded guy. It's you know, we've seen that he can be taken down for sure.
Yeah.
We've also seen him stop the takedown, but that's Merab's game, right? It's not just the takedown, but it's also kind of that neutralization, you know, up against the cage and really prevent Piotr Yan from finding more of a rhythm with his hands. He starts slow anyway, Yan. But yeah, I like this fight. I'm really curious to see what happens for him. And I don't know what even comes of it if Merab wins. Because
if Merab wins,
Aljo is obviously the champion still.
Yan just like, I'm done. Because it's going to be a split decision. Again.
Just raise his hand no matter what.
He's just going to...
for old time's sake.
Just rage quit. and
I don't think
then
so.
that'll be it.
I don't. But if Merab does win, I wouldn't be surprised especially if Aljo wins his fight, which is supposed to be in Jersey, right? He's going to defend his title against
New Jersey,
against Henry Cejudo in Jersey. That would be a fun thing if that actually transpires, because then you and I will be there.
We will be.
Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't be surprised if Aljo
They should put
gets
me on
through.
media row for that one.
They probably won't.
They should though.
I hear you.
They
do.
should.
I'm just saying they probably won't. You should.
I'm gonna try anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Go for it. Maybe they'll let you shadow judge there.
That's another thing.
They should just do that. Or maybe they just let you judge.
Well, there's a thought. But me, Eric Colon, I'll be on his hip all night.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll just watching fights together.
You and Dave Torelli just sitting there.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. All the Jersey guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then we'll go get Taylor ham and egg sandwiches afterward, because that is the thing. Taylor ham. But I do like this fight. I'm very interested for it. I really like the card top to bottom, man. There's a lot of good fights here.
There's good fights.
You would put like 1 or 2 fights on our little list of like other fights we're looking forward to, and I added like 3 more, and I wanted to add more, but I'm like,
which ones did I put? I definitely put Saeed
Nurmagomedov and Jonathan Martinez.
I put that one because that's very interesting.
You added Nikita Krylov and Ryan Spann, which was
only
a headliner a few weeks ago.
That's mainly why I put it on here, is because now it is opening the main card as opposed to being the main event. And it's only 3 rounds now.
Yeah,
as opposed to it was originally 5.
This is a much better decision on the whole. I added a heavyweight fight of all things, by the way, but I
didn't add that specifically because it was a heavyweight fight.
I added it because I actually. Alexander Romanov has always fascinated me ever since we kind of saw him debut. I think he's a very interesting prospect at 265.
I almost made him one of my guys after the Americana finish, but I didn't.
Okay. And then Alexander Volkov as well. The Battle of the Alexanders. It's Volkov. His Alexander ends in an ER. Romanov's ends in just an R. So we'll find out which spelling is superior. I like that, but I do think it's gonna be a decent fight. I actually do. I don't think it's gonna be one of those crummy heavyweight fights. I'll happily admit that if I'm wrong, and I won't be happy about it, but I'll tell you if I'm wrong. But I think that'll be all right. Rafael Assunção and Davey Grant. I actually really like this fight. I think Assunção got counted out too soon in terms of not being able to fight really anymore at this kind of level. Davey Grant hits really hard. He's fun to watch. I mean, pretty much anything at 135, 125 is always, good to watch,
good,
right?
yeah.
Mostly. And then Tyson Nam against Bruno Silva. Tyson Nam hits hard, especially for 125. So I like that fight too. And again, I think there's so many other fights on here that I could shout out.
Great fights.
Great fight weekend. This is going to be a fun weekend.
Yeah. We will definitely have a split decision to talk about with Peter Yan and Merab.
No, definitely not.
I think that's what's going to happen.
No, it's going to be a finish. It's going to finish.
I'm being one of those guys that predicts split decision.
Yep. Well, yeah, that's probably true. But at the end of it, we're also going to feel like it was a split decision. It's a close fight, so it's a split decision.
Yeah.
Or maybe even super close, like a majority decision, right? No one ever calls that.
All right, we'll be back again next Monday to break down this great weekend of fights. We'll see you there.
You can see me anywhere. This is an audio-only show, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Forgot about that.
That's all right. You'll see me, though.
Yeah, I'll see you.
And you'll see the fights if you're listening.
Yes.
Enjoy them, and have a great week.
Thanks for listening.